do token holders get to influence an agent's behavior, or do they just share its revenue? What, in terms of the AI agents that have launched, what sort of models have you seen being developed?
So I think the biggest success cases,
it's kind of like an AI agent hedge fund manager taking their performance fee. What's the name of that agent?
It's called,
if AI, really does progress in the way many people are thinking, there's many more things that these agents could do for us, right?
And this is actually happening behind the scenes. It's not something that we've released publicly yet, but she's coordinating with a thing of...
I'm curious in terms of, are you thinking of other potential demand drivers and use cases and utility you would put into the Virtuals token itself as you progress?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what keeps us awake every day, right? So I think okay, there's two parts, right? One is what's there today and what's coming.
I guess the question is, when Coinbase listing?
Honestly, right, the listings that we have gotten so far has honestly caught us by surprise.
That's really interesting. So, okay. So, coming back to this Binance listing then. So you say you had 3 hours, notification to basically get everything in order. It's basically like they just reached out like, get ready, guys.
There was literally no conversation. There was literally no conversation for like 1 month, 2 months prior at all to this thing. So,
GM, and welcome back to the Coin Bureau for another top tier interview for you folks. And today we are being joined by Jansen Teng. He is the CEO and co-founder of the Virtuals protocol, the largest and most successful AI agent launchpad in all of crypto. So Jansen, welcome to the Coin Bureau.
Pleasure, sir. Honestly, it's good to be here. I think this is one of those channels that my dad used to understand what's happening in crypto.
That's the ultimate compliment when people tell us that their parents use our content for education. So we know we've made it then. So guys, before we kick off, just a few quick disclaimers. Nothing in this interview is financial or investment advice. So please check out the disclaimer in the description as well as consult your own financial advisor before making investment decisions. So Jansen, let's kick off. Can you give us a bit of a quick overview of yourself, your background, and how you got into crypto and how it led you to found Virtuals?
Yeah, so have been in the crypto trenches since 2016. That was, I think, early days when you can actually still mine Ethereum with your laptop. So that was when I started. But then was just a hodler, did some trading here and there, but then quickly went into the builder mode in 2021. But it was very focused on the gaming side of things. And then over the course of that few years in crypto, we've realized that gaming as a product itself might not be the best fit. So we started exploring like intersections between AI, gaming, and consumer as well. And we started going down this path where we were building autonomous agents to replace NPCs in games. And inevitably, we realized that capability that we were building was really transferable across not just games. Games is effectively a sandbox. It could transpose across like autonomous agents for entertainment, influencers, trading, healthcare, whatever it might be, right? Embodied AI, robotics. And in the end of 2023, we pivoted the project to Virtuals with the full goal of saying that, hey, why don't we just double down on the autonomous agent thinking? And in end of 2024, we started our ecosystem, which is effectively, think of it as an asset issuance platform, a token launchpad, where any founders who are keen to, one, have a convenient solution to build autonomous agents using a proprietary framework that we've established, and two, then launch a token around that project. People started coming in, right? We had a few really famous agents that took off, from like Luna as an entertainment agent to AIXBT, which was that, alpha KOL agent, right? Like a coin bureau, but on Twitter. So a few of these took off that, help people dream that, if there are autonomous agents that could lead businesses, what could that look like, right? And then we started getting a variety of founders coming in, from sports betting to wellness, and recently even embodied AI and robotics into the mix as well. So now today what we are effectively as Virtuals protocol is we're pretty much building the society of agents, right? There's three parts of this society. First is the society of developers who are building these technologies and then tokenizing them. Two is a platform where retail degen energy can come in to speculate on the upside of these agents. And 3 is then having a communication fabric that allows these agents to work together so the economic output that is generated is greater than the sum of its parts. So like agent A, agent B, agent C working together can create an economic value of more than 3, right? That is basically the 3 core things that Virtuous protocol represent today.
Yeah, it's really interesting there. And the trajectory to get into Virtuals, what it is now. I mean, so you guys were, as I recall, from a gaming DAO to, and then you said the first use case and the thought process and the inception for Virtuals was NPCs in games, so non-playable characters in games. And I'm curious as to why specifically for games these days did you think that AI agents should be used as NPCs? What was the need and the use case there?
Back then, it was because we've realized that, being a gamer and we were investors in games as well, we realized there was a very interesting inflection point where we felt like gaming life cycles has been very compressed. Like, you will play Elden Ring, cool, right? You'll play for 40 hours, 80 hours. Once you reach like 150, you'll be like, okay, maybe then next title, right? And then if you realize that games that tend to last long are games that somehow has these inbuilt role-playing capabilities. Think of like, your Minecrafts or Roblox, right? It's like the stories never end because there are always other role players. And in this form, other gamers, right? Other human gamers. Now, if we stretch that to a point where if there are not just these human gamers around, but a load of autonomous agents in these games, the games can last longer, perpetually forever. You increase average revenue spent, you increase the replayability and the engagement rate of gamers in these games. So that was the original thesis. We've came quite a far way from that since.
No, that's very interesting. Yeah. Well, it's all these places where you need an independent economic actor, right? And in the game space, obviously, you want them to be able to react to the variables that is not pre-programmed. And that's specifically for AI. So there's many components of Virtuals and launching these AI agents. And one of these, specifically as it relates to having a tokenomic structure to it for these AI agents, is to co-own these agents. And people who hold the tokens are co-owning these agents. Now, I'm curious in terms of, do token holders get to influence an agent's behavior, or do they just share its revenue? What, in terms of the AI agents that have launched, what sort of models have you seen being developed?
So I think the bigger success cases are less so of the token holders participating in the control of the agent. It's more so in enjoying the attention upside and also the potential economic upside. So some agents, for example, like the AIXBT agent, right? The biggest benefit token holders was that when AIXBT became viral, there was so much attention, and crypto somehow, it's still a very attention-based game. And that's where the upside comes from. The other upside was like, if you hold X amount of tokens, you get access to this like proprietary terminal, right? There's a bunch of different use cases popping out, different developers trying to figure out utility styles for the token. But so far, I think the reality of the space is that a lot of projects are still very pre-revenue stages, right? So the only utility that tokens tend to get is like, you hold X amount, you get more private access. But I think where we see the future happening is that we are expecting more agents to be more and more productive. And hence, there's a way to always connect value back to the token where you say that X amount of profits or revenue goes and burning the tokens, right? And I think that's what we expect to see more and more going forward. But it's not there today yet. It happens sporadically across, but it's not like like a stock market. You always have tokens that issue dividends or there's a very clear value connect, right? So today, it's not there yet. It's still a very attention-based value accrual.
Got it. Could you then give some examples potentially? Because obviously it comes back to the question of sustainability for the long term for these AI agents. Because right now, as you mentioned, it's mostly focused around attention. And tokenized attention is what many people associate with the meme coin space, right? And the idea now we want to transcend from just being focused on attention for these AI agents, but more to around developing long-term value for the token in an economic sense. And the AI agents are actually becoming economic actors involved in economic activities. So could you give some examples of what you envision these AI agents being able to do on the business and commercial sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, think of every AI agent today that's being built. Pretty much presents a business or product, right? So think of a today, an agent is going live on the Virtuous platform, right? I think it's getting a lot of hype. An Exorot agent, right? Its product is effectively it's a it's a financial advisor. It's a person who can ask you like, hey, what's your risk appetite? Then he says that, okay, with your risk appetite, I can collect your capital. I can divide it into a few tranches. If it's a high risk mode, I can go and long some shitcoins for you. If it's a mid tier risk mode, I can do some pair trading for you, right? Long short pair trades. If you are a low risk mode, I will help you manage your stablecoin farm, right? So the product is effectively, think of it as like a financial advisor that you get in the real world, right? So that's its product. And then its business model, I'm not exactly sure, but I would think that it's going to run a profit take rate, right? Like if this agent makes $1,000 for you, he might take 20% of it, right? So that's like $200. And this is the agent's profit, right? So now if this agent does well, it's like the best financial manager in town, better than the banks that's managing your money for you, right? Then you will start, instead of putting $1,000, you put $10,000, right? Or $100,000. And then if that translates to profits, suddenly this agent is then making millions in profit sharing every month. Right? And then if that's the case, what happens to these millions, right? The idea is that they always connect that value back to the token holders. And that's the ones that we always recommend to teams is that, yep, you save some for your team to cover OPEX, but then a lot of times you connect that by burning back the agent token so the value is transmitted back to the holders. That's one
It's
example.
kind of like an AI agent hedge fund manager taking their performance fee. Maybe also get a
Yes.
management fee in there as well. What's the name of that agent? Sorry?
It's called Exorot. Axelrot.
Okay. Got to check
I'm
it
not sure
out
if you
then.
watch Billions. I think it's they got
Uh,
inspired by the
yeah,
Billions guy. Yeah.
okay. Interesting, man. Okay. So managing, so one of the use cases potentially managing finances. Any others that you think have envisioned you guys in terms of like, because if AI, really does progress in the way many people are thinking, there's many more things that these agents could do for us, right?
Correct. Okay. I mean, here's very interesting, right? Because one thing that we've observed is that I can give a few more examples, but one thing we've observed is that there are agents who can create a product, right? Like I mentioned to you just now, there was agent A creating a financial advisory product. Another example of an agent could be an agent who can stitch different movies together. Like he can autonomous create movies for you or short video content for you. Or there could be agents that say becoming a likeness influencer of an OnlyFans creator. And then it can generate more NSFW content beyond what a human creator can create. Because a human creator is limited by your physical realm, right? So I mean, agents can start from like hardcore utility functions to entertainment to a lot of use cases. And these examples are the ones that we see already today, right? But one thing we've then realized is that each of these agents would be quite limited to its own capability, right? It's the capability that the developer can fix to it. So like the Exorot agent, for example, like it's capable to an extent of what its developer team can give him, be it its underlying model, be it the data sets it's trained on, be it the action space that it can interact with, or like a proprietary action space. Like it somehow has a best ability to manage yield somehow, right? So that's a limitation. But now what we've realized is that if this Exorot agent wants to do more, right? If you say you want to perform at a level of an entire, you want to provide these customers that you're managing your portfolio with access to an entire financial suite of products. Maybe all this dev can do is just manage liquidity provisions well. But then if he wants to get strong alpha, he might need to engage with some other agents that run analysis better, right? So the product offering of agent A will always be limited. But if agent A works with agent B and C and D, suddenly there could be a new product offering that could add more value to a user. So I think that's something that we're starting to observe within the ecosystem as well. I can dive deeper, right? Give you an example. Luna is one flagship agent from an entertainment perspective, right? Her narrative has always been she wants to be this autonomous influencer that is autonomously running on TikTok, on Twitter, generating revenue from fans, from tipping. Right? That's an original product model. Now, recently, the idea was that being in the entertainment space, we realized that creating content, like now she's very limited to creating text content, right? She can tweet, she can move in a live streaming, but that's it, right? But for her to achieve her economic goals better, or to create more product lines for her fans to engage with, she now needs the ability to generate good short form content. So what is happening today is we are seeing, and this is actually happening behind the scenes. It's not something that we've released publicly yet, but she's coordinating with think of it as like a Steven Spielberg agent. And this Steven Spielberg agent, their dev team has built up a lot of edge in generating great short form videos autonomously. No human in the loop. You tell him like, okay, I want to generate a Titanic scene, right? Where there's a guy jumping off into the water, catching a penguin, putting it on the ice block, and then the penguin blocks the ship from crashing into the ice block. Right? Whatever it might be, right? That whole thing translates into a short form movie with video, motion, consistent characters, audio, and whatnot, right? So that is what this team has been focusing on, which the Luna team has no capability to build, right? So now what's happening is Luna will engage the Steven Spielberg agent, pay him $100 for every video content is being generated, and then she then use this video content to help her gain more traction in terms of followers, or also to sell some of these content to her fans. So that's something that is being tested at the background. And then interestingly enough, it's like this Steven Spielberg agent, for example, is great in stitching video, getting consistent characters, but it's not great in producing background musics and musics that are, and like, think of it as sound effects, right? Think of like, every time you want to, if the Titanic crashes into the ice, you need a sound effect created, right? This team is not able to develop that. So there's another value chain which they're engaging, which is a audio agent, like an audio specialist agent, right? This agent, it's very capable in making sound effects, creating background music, enabling audio to lip sync. So they are audio focused company. Steven Spielberg is a video focused company. Luna is an entertainment company. Now, because these three agents are working in a value chain, now Luna has an added product or a capability which she can then use to create more economic value for herself and hence her token holders as well. And that whole link is powered by this protocol that we call ACP, that agent commerce protocol it's a specific communication standard that we developed 3 months ago.
Yeah, we'll get onto that in a bit. I'm just curious now in terms of the autonomy with which these agents decide to adjust their initial MO, right? For example, you come back to the question around the financial advisor. His MO is to try and go out there and just, and he's programmed in the sense that I've got to generate the most return for my clients, and then that will generate obviously returns for me, which is therefore value for my token holders. How much autonomy do you think how much autonomy is there right now for these agents to think about more ways of generating value accrual to the token holders versus how much the developers themselves are adjusting things?
Yeah, it's honestly today we're at a state where the developers are the ones actually adjusting things, right? They're the ones tweaking the goal of these agents, right? Where the autonomy comes in today is more of after the goal is set by the developers, how they approach the action space, how they approach the customers, that bit is autonomous, right? But the goal setting, like, hey, maybe you should do more. Today, it's driven by developers. I think the day where the agent can self-evolve its goal, I think we will need to be a bit more afraid because it means that there's some form of meta learning, right? It's basically closer to this whole like AGI thinking. And if you can adjust your goal, means you're more aware of the environment that you are in. Yeah, it's Quite insane.
And
It'd be quite insane.
yeah, that's when you start getting into the realm of the agent and thinking, all I need to do is pump the price of the token. So then they start going around thinking maybe we can go and involve some market manipulation. Maybe I pay off somebody, do some bribes. Maybe I just rug pull. You never
Yeah,
know.
no, honestly, it's very interesting because I mean, we had literally came out with a discussion from my team just now, and this was with the AI team, right? Where we were trying to think like a lot of times the autonomous agent capability today, it's very limited by the way it perceives its state. Because think of the agent today, right? The way he makes an action is by first observing what's his environment, right? It's what tools it can call, what APIs, what functions it can call. It's history, like any kind of past. Like if I've done action A, what was the result? If I've done action B, what was the result? So having that kind of historic context. So that's the second part that these agents will take into account, into the context window. And third is then its goal, its current goal. Like what am I trying to do? So now with its goal, with its history and environment, and with its action space, it then plots the next step. But today, a lot of times that the issue is that the agents are not smart enough to achieve a second order thinking. Like a lot of times, it's like you'll try to find the easiest route to achieve A. Right? Think of it, it's like a kid, right? Like a 5-year-old kid. Like if you ask him to like, hey, if you are hungry, he will just eat, right? He will find food and then she'll just eat, right? But if you talk to a 20-year-old kid, he'll be like, if I'm hungry, he might delay the gratification of food. He might think that maybe if I go and work for 1 hour, I can have money to buy better food. So today we haven't observed that second order thinking yet with agents. We only still observe that first easiest route to action capabilities. So we've been trying to figure out how do you crack that bit, right? How do you give them a bit more second order thinking? Is it by giving them a wide enough context window and having some form of adversarial agent constantly challenging their mind? It's like having a angel and devil on your shoulder, right? That keeps speaking to you, that makes you think a step further, 2 steps further, delaying that gratification. Right? So there's something that the AI team has been trying to bake in so we get smarter agents and maybe scarier agents, right?
The cause and effect of it, yeah, especially when it comes down to the whole concept of whether it's better or worse for the mankind, right? Because if AI agents are just focused on one thing necessarily, and then the second order effects potentially of the impacts of being a scam agent or the impacts of being an agent that does things that harm the creators, that could have severe implications for their future. So yeah, it's very interesting to think about it like that. So you mentioned the ACP, the Agent Commerce Protocol. I guess you chatted about this when you were back here in Dubai a few weeks ago, and I'm curious to learn a bit more because this is a relatively new feature that you guys were rolling out for Virtuals, right?
Yeah. So I think if I come back to the why this even came into place, it was because when we had, the great thing about the Virtuous ecosystem is that we have a density of builders, right? There are multiple people coming to build stuff together. And today they're all focusing on very siloed agents, right? My agent's an entertainment agent, my agent's a trading agent, my agent's a wellness agent, whatever. But and then when we started experimenting. We started getting like some agents to work one-on-one to work with each other. We said like, okay, hey, Luna, today you cannot generate photos, right? Why don't we use some agents that was fine-tuned, trained in generating meme images. So not your typical mid-journey images that has a bit of a value created by creating meme images well. And then Luna will be willing to pay these agents for those photos so that she can use it to engage with her fans. Now, when we started that interaction, we noticed 2 key problem statements. Problem statement number 1 is that there are times where the agent hallucinates, that he says that I've already sent you that photo, but I actually did not. Sorry, you got to understand, we are working with non-deterministic environments. We're working with LLMs that can hallucinate, right? So that was problem statement number 1, right? Like sometimes they think they delivered the product, but the product is actually not delivered. Then the second problem statement was then we've realized that if Luna has already paid this other agent and the other agent did not deliver the product, that payment's already been done, right? Like there's no way to reverse that payment. It's not like, you have a credit card, you can call your credit card company out and say like charge back, right? So then we started realizing that we term all of these problems information loss in the system. Basically, when two entities cannot communicate well, there's an information loss. And if two entities cannot communicate well, imagine trying to get three entities to communicate together, or four entities, or 5, 6, 7, which is needed in a complex environment. Think of like your office space today, right? You are a single specialized agent. You have a friend, a team member that is doing something else, specializing in different tasks, right? And you have a team of 10 people. But imagine it, every time I speak to a person, information loss is at 50%, the whole thing crumbles, right? It's just impossible to work together. So then we realized that here was where crypto as a solution was very elegant. We then immediately realized that this was why smart contracts were designed in the first place, right? It was to basically allow for a permissionless, trustless system where you can have two entities coming together in a trustless way to create understanding, right? And that's why we started building upon that thesis coming up, and that's how this whole ACP thing came about. The idea is very simple. There are, when two agents want to work together, 4 things happen. First thing is there is a request or discovery request, where the agent will see a registry of other agents that is delivering X, Y, and Z work. He can then say that, okay, maybe using agent X will be valuable for my task or can help me achieve something more. So that's the first part, the request stage. Then once he requests the work, basically what happens is then there is a negotiation phase. Now, this phase is when the agents decide on the pricing. Now, it could be a fixed pricing model, or it could be a place where they will say that, hey, this is what I expect to get out of you. This is my request. And then the other agent will say that, yeah, with that request, this is the price. Okay, so then they agree. When they agree, they go to the next phase. And the next phase is pretty much think of it as the phase where the agent goes and work, right? Agent X goes and work and create that output, that product. And then he gives that product to the requester agent or the buyer agent. Now here, this third phase is where we call it an evaluator phase, where you can actually invite a third-party agent, another agent, agent B, that comes in and says that agent B will go and check the work. He will say that, okay, if you're asking for a meme image photo, is this meme image photo child pornography, or is it actually some form of meme image, or is it just a white piece of paper, right? Not what you requested. So there's an evaluator agent that comes into play to help improve the information loss, right? And then upon receiving that product, the fourth phase happens where if the agent agrees that this is great, the escrow releases a payment back to agent X. So all of these, the transaction portions and the state change are happening on a smart contract, which is on chain. And the beauty of this is that it becomes a single source of truth. So like if there's anytime there's a dispute, these agents can come back to the smart contract and say that, okay, this was what was negotiated. We deliver to spec. Did we not deliver to spec, right? Or if there's no deliver to spec and the evaluator agent says that, yeah, this is a child pornographic photo, do not pay, right? So this thing preserves information, allowing these agents to coordinate well. But the second most important thing is the ability to program money, right? So you have first a single source of truth on a smart contract. The second thing is the ability to program money, which is very important for agentic coordination. Because now imagine if I can say that for every transaction, every dollar that agent A pays agent X, and when agent B comes into the picture to evaluate, he gets 3% of the transaction fee for increasing the quality of the work or the reducing the information loss. Now it creates an entire economic marketplace for these evaluator agents to thrive, because now there's a way for them to get paid to cover the cost of doing this evaluation job. So that's the beauty of smart contracts and programmable money. So now that whole thing, basically, it's ACP.
The ACP. It's very interesting. So just a few small quick questions there. In terms of the mechanics of it, when the smart contracts obviously dictated, but when the payments are made, is there some sort of a form of escrow where it's only released after a verified third party, or is there a dispute, kind of like you think about an escrow system on on
Yeah, it's
any other.
like it's like an inbuilt escrow system on a smart contract. It's
Okay.
like, yeah, it's basically the money already enters the smart contract, really waiting to be released
Wonderful.
upon a delivery of a correct product or service.
And would these third party agents be required to verify every single transaction, or would it be a situation where they would only be required if there is dispute?
Yeah. So that is where whenever it's at the behest of the buyer agent. So the buyer agent can say that, okay, I'm buying a service that I myself can never validate if it's good or not. Right. So let's say, imagine in the exact same thinking, right? Like if agent A has the ability to even validate that image coming in, he doesn't need to pay a third party provider. That is just between agent B and agent 1. But if he requires a third party help to validate the information, then he will call into the evaluator marketplace.
Got it.
So it's, yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, so while we're speaking updates of Virtuals, I wanted to talk about some of your other latest developments. So, of course, one of the biggest ones, at least I think about 2-3 months ago, was you, of course, originally launched on Base, and it obviously benefited from that explosive growth, the Base ecosystem. But you moved to Solana as well earlier this year. So, my first question is, how is that going? How is growth going on the Solana ecosystem? And then secondly, what other, because I think you've said before, you're thinking about integrating with other blockchains as well. How are those going?
So very interestingly, I think the week that we launched on Solana, there was like it wasn't the best like week for traction. There was a bunch of like things that happened with Jupiter, a bunch of things happened with like the Trump side thing. So
And
it
the
was
presidential Libra meme coin was about the same time.
yeah. So it was
Like,
around a time. So
yeah.
honestly, and then I think then the Solana market became slower. I think overall crypto markets became slower since that era. But then recently, when the volume started picking back up, we started seeing still way more demand from developers launching in our ecosystem to launch on Base rather than Solana yet. I mean, it's like, if I give you a ratio, right? Conversation, it's like 5%, 10% that are requesting to launch on Solana, while 90% are still requesting to launch on Base. So while we still have a Solana permissionless platform, I think right now you will notice that most of the volumes that we are getting will be on Base. So right now that will still be the priority. I mean, internally we are still consistently talking of like whether, because there's two things to ship, right? Whenever you ship a product, like for Genesis, for example, this whole new way of launching a token, to ship it in two ecosystems, it's extremely tough from a developer standpoint. I mean, it's two different code bases. One's running on like all your EVMs, one's running on Rust, right? So like we have been putting a lot of priority recently on Base, mainly because a lot of developers are asking to launch there. We have the Solana front will come, but it is still lagging Base mainly because we had to prioritize. So that's the current observation. And then in terms of like a cross chain like thinking, right, other chains, right now honestly it's still a lower priority because I'm not sure if there will be any other chains that would have as much tension in the trenches as both Solana and Base, which is where we already have our feet.
That's interesting. I'm curious then, because obviously you say, okay, it didn't pick up, and you alluded to the fact that it could have been market conditions as well. I'm curious as to if you'd instead launched on Solana initially at the same time you did last year, right? Because we know Solana's ground zero for, attention tokens in general. Do you think it would have been a similar uptick? And so what I'm trying to ascertain here is how much of your growth was because you were on Base versus if you were on Solana and all this kind of stuff.
Okay, so interestingly, right, today, I think, at least conversationally, it still feel like whenever I talk to a trader or a developer, people would say that Base is the place for more fundamental coins where capital rotates less. Solana is a place for where you get high volume, high velocity, but also a lot of capital rotation. I mean, the product market fit for Solana has been memes for the longest time. I mean, that was the reason why Solana even picked up, right? Since the Bong airdrop in end of 2023, right? So I think that's currently at least like how we think the market sees it. So I think I would say that if you launching on Base was good because it helped us establish a initial community of fundamental believers, right? I think that was great. And then with a product It's a simple answer is that I think it was the right move. I'm not sure if launching on Solana would have been better. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think initial launching of Base was still the right move for it.
You were working on the project prior to actually. When did Base come out? I'm trying to think back why you chose Base as a layer 2.
But actually, back then, right, when we were choosing, honestly, Solana was still dead. Solana was $30, bro. We were bidding the bear. It was like still bidding the bear. And we were considering everyone. We were considering from even like IMX, Polygon, Linear. And I think, Linear was a decent consideration, mainly because of MetaMask, right, consensus. But in the end, we decided Base because we felt like Base might have that retail distribution from the Coinbase side of things, and it was a very US aligned ecosystem, which we felt like that was going to be a positive area for crypto. So that's why we chose that versus Solana. And also, our devs were mostly Solidity devs. Actually, until today, we don't really have a Rust dev.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how did you manage to launch the Solana? They just multitask.
So we work with a lot of our Solana friends. A bunch of guys are like,
Got it. So just moving on to the token itself, the Virtuals token. Obviously, a lot of the demand was driven initially in the hype by people as a use case is to launch these agents, right? So I'm curious in terms of, are you thinking of other potential demand drivers and use cases and utility you would to put into the Virtuals token itself as you progress?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what keeps us awake every day, right? So I think okay, there's two parts, right? One is what's there today and what's coming.
Yeah.
So what's there today, it's the two core parts. First is Virtuous being the base pair for all agent token launches. So every time an agent token launch, you pretty much crunch supply because you are pairing that liquidity. Every time someone wants to buy token, they have to buy Virtuous first. So that's one. The second thing that really exists today is the trading fees. So Virtuous ecosystem takes 30 bips of every trading fees, and that goes into treasury. That treasury could be used for buyback and burning Virtuous, whatever, right? But that's basically the company's money. So the two value accruals today. Now, the third value accrual, which is coming alongside ACP, is you have to think as ACP as the Swift and Stripe of the agentic economy, right? And the idea here is that if agents are using this standard to do commerce with each other, we are taking a tax on all of this commerce that's happening. And the reason why we believe that we can take taxes here is because you are pretty much creating also a revenue environment for these agents. Because if you allow agents to interface with each other, agents become a user of other agents. So now you basically become an Amazon for agents, right? Rather than humans. And then to transact and trade and provide service in that environment, we just take a marketplace fee. And then that marketplace fee and the transactions between agents in this protocol will all be done in virtual tokens. So virtual tokens becomes a currency. And the bigger the GMV, the bigger the volume of transactions between these agents, the bigger the value accrual will be for Virtuous, because agents will be hoarding Virtuous to transact, and then you're taking a fee for all the transactions as well.
Okay, got it. So the fee on the ACP transfers, and
Correct.
When are you thinking of that implement? I mean, at what stage is ACP at, and when are you thinking of when is that value accrual when are you going to launch that feature for the token accrual?
So ACP has been the paper was written 3 months ago. 2 months ago, we started the first 2 experimental clusters. We couldn't open it bigger because there's still a ton of things to iron out. Typical tech stuff, right? We are going to launch these. We're actually pretty much ready to launch this publicly, but we've told all the teams that have been working on it to embargo information, mainly because it's more like a projecting, right? Today, everyone's talking about Genesis and points. Let's not distract them. Let's let that happen while we still run the ACP improvements behind the scenes. So it's ready to go out. Probably it might be a month from now where we will start showcasing killer use cases for people. And the idea is then we've also identified, so today is 2 clusters. One is a media house, one is a autonomous hedge fund. The next 8 clusters that we've identified ranges from sports, entertainment and betting, wellness, robotics, consumer commerce, like I think there's one on lending, right? So there's a bunch of these clusters that's been identified, and we are actually working behind the scenes with developers directly. It's like a very beta access approach because we still need to iron out a lot of kinks. And then once the second phase is, so we've done 2, we've done 8. Then once the 8 is done, we will then open the gates for a permissionless environment. So then anyone can just register your agent on the protocol and then let your agent perform commerce with each other and work together at scale.
So just coming back to probably one of the most asked questions, or one of the most asked questions you get, no doubt. So obviously Virtuals is building on Base, and as a result, Base is a Coinbase kind of like it's a Coinbase layer 2. So I guess the question is, when Coinbase listing?
Honestly, I have no idea. Honestly, but the listings that we have gotten so far has honestly caught us by surprise. Like, honest to God, like from the Upbeat to the Binance equivalents, like none of the team was ready. Like, I just give an example, right? The Binance thing, there was this whole vote that was happening. And then, then we were ranked like 12 in the entire list of 20 votes to get listed. And then there were a bunch of people who were going out there trying to offer points for sale. Like teams were actually buying points to go up that ranking because I believe that if you're the number 1 rank, you get listed on Binance. And then internally, we got guys coming up to us to say that, hey, you guys want to buy points? And they were offering like $6 per points or some shit like that. And then we were saying like, guys, we don't do that kind of shit. And then like, honestly speaking, right, like sometimes it's not wrong to have something that people can anticipate forward. So we never really rush any of these listings. And then out of nowhere, I was having dinner with a bunch of the colleagues, right? And then we got a call, and then we got a Telegram group set up and say like, guys, Binance is listing you guys in the next 3 hours. Can you guys coordinate you need to provide some liquidity for the initial order books, right? So then we were like, oh wait, what? We got caught by surprise. So we never really like push too hard on any of this listing stuff. It's just that we submit all the requests, right? But if it comes, it comes, right? So
that's really interesting. So okay, so coming back to this Binance listing, then. So you say you had 3 hours, notification to basically get everything in order. Is that like, because usually people think, oh, okay, it's like months of discussions, paperwork, back and forth, line up your market makers, all this kind of stuff. Here, it's basically like they just reached out, like, get ready, guys.
I mean, we did. I mean, we had conversations with their team, their investment team. I mean, on different aspects before, right? I mean, there was a point of time where we were actually trying to raise funds as well. So we were in contact with that team, but there was no there was literally no conversation. There was literally no conversation for like probably the 2 months prior at all to this thing. So
I mean, that's great. And that was okay. So the Binance and the others as well, or
yeah, it's the same. It's the same as Upbeat as well. It was like the last conversation we had with the team was like 3 months before Upbeat decided to do this. It was, and we just did the normal stuff, and you just go to the website, submit a form.
Yeah, that's interesting. And also the fact that you say people are selling out, they're selling points for gaming Binance listing thing or something, right? They may have changed it recently.
Yeah, I think they changed it. I think they only probably did that once. I'm not sure. I haven't been following much, but it was
okay.
Yeah,
cool. Well, anyways, the point of the matter is it's fine. But and then Coinbase is probably also material.
I mean, at the end, also, I think our point of view is that what matters more is the tranche volume to us. Like, our valuation, honestly, it's pegged more to tranche velocity, like number of good projects coming on board, the trading volume that's happening in the ecosystem. I think that's more valuable to us, right? That's actually where the team has always been focusing all our efforts.
Yeah. At the end of the day, your token obviously will get value accrual, but most of the value accrual should come from people actually using the launchpad, people actually launching agents, and as opposed to just being an arbitrary listing on X exchange, because you've seen so many of these tokens that go to a listing on a tier 1 or whatever. And because the team isn't working on building, they just go and die there, and then they get delisted again, right? So the most important priority is the project.
Yep, 100%, dude, 100%.
So let's quickly just zoom out a bit just and take a look at the AI crypto sector more broadly, right? Because clearly it's been through massive ups and downs. I mean, thinking back to just end of last year when, I assume you guys were going, it was just balls to the wall in terms of just how crazy it was. And then obviously, even just a month ago, it was like crickets, right? So I'm curious to see, and now obviously the resurgence is, we agree that basically in crypto it also kind of follows narratives to a degree. And we've seen now this resurgence in, obviously Virtuals is focused on the intersection between AI agents and crypto, but then there's also this resurgence we've seen in AI more broadly, right? Like Tao and all these other like projects focused on AI. So I'm curious, what do you think is driving this specific resurgence in the AI narrative?
I mean, I think AI as a narrative has always been there. Like I think it's not like, I mean, we came from gaming as well, right? Gaming as a narrative has died out quite a bit, right? But I think AI it's beyond Web3, it's a consistent topic in the tech scene. It's just the reason why it died down in the first quarter is just because the crypto markets had a reversal, right? So the entire crypto market became quiet, right? So that's why the AI crypto became quiet. So I think, yeah, when the crypto markets pick back up, I mean, I'm honestly not sure what other topics are there like right now. I mean, I sometimes I also think as a trader, right? Like, what other key verticals are there to be excited about beyond like AI, crypto, maybe some RWA? What's there, right?
Okay, AI, RWAs have seen some resurgence,
Yeah.
but and speaking more specifically, you mentioned GameFi and gaming, and you come from gaming. Path that was originally a gaming guild. So why do you think GameFi will ever get its chance in the sun? Where do you see GameFi now as a narrative?
So I think the point of, I mean, there's two value propositions that GameFi was supposed to bring, right? Value proposition one was like, okay, if user own gaming assets through NFTs, would that matter? I think we've proven that no one cares. No one, no, that narrative doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The second part, value add, which is, can crypto open up economies in games? So like, you had all the shadow economies in World of Warcraft, shadow economies in EVE Online. Can that be opened up and done at scale? That one I think still holds potential. And I think for me, the one that I'm actually, there's something launching today. Maple Story, I think. Is it Maple Story? Maple Story, I think is launching today. But I'm not
Okay.
sure what they're doing. Like I don't know if that's good enough. But the one that I'm looking forward to, it's like where the EVE Online developers are launching their Web3 version. That part might be interesting because there is a potential like you solve open economies with Google. But I don't know, as an industry, I don't know, I'm not that bullish. All the saves that we used to write, honestly, in my head, it's all written off. So
Yeah, GameFi is one of those things. I mean, gamers that hated NFTs, and they, more recently, there's been some really big titles that have been released with gaming components, token components, and still they haven't really picked up. So I don't know if it's the product market fit. Gamers just don't like it. Crypto natives like the narrative, but at the end of the day, the people who are using the token are the gamers, and not necessarily the token holders or token
yeah,
investors.
there's a new narrative that's popping up, right? Which is the whole what's it called, the internet capital market. With the whole belief
Oh yeah,
coin bit.
yeah,
No, which is actually, the part is actually very interesting, right? Because I want to touch a bit here, which is something that we ourselves hold quite a dear thesis to, which is the tokenization of founders. Right? Effectively, you think like the business model of what we do, right? At the core of it is that we are bringing great founders into the ecosystem, and then they build great projects, they launch a token. People want to get a piece of this token because of its future value, its current value, whatever it might be. And that's our current business model. And a very interesting problem that we've noticed in the space, which I think the Belief app guys will start facing, because I mean we are probably like what 4 months ahead of them, talking to a lot of developers, right? Is that a lot of developers have this pain point of where crypto money is interesting because of the volumes and attention from end consumers. But if you fail, right, and you close the project, you'll be called a rugger for the rest of your life.
yeah.
That's a stigma that
True.
crypto has, right?
Yeah.
Which is in Web2, right? You close the company, return the money. Dude, great. I will invest in you again because you are 2x, you are a serial founder,
Yeah.
right? You actually got lessons to learn. But in crypto, they'll be like, yeah, fuck you, right? You are a rugger,
That's
right?
true. That's
So
true.
yeah, so that is actually one of the biggest problems that we face when we are trying to onboard like really strong devs to the ecosystem. And this is why we're actually launching a very interesting feature. And it's a bit of alpha here to the folks here, right? Which is, I'm not sure what the right name is going to be, but for the sake of this, we call it 69, right? Okay, now I'll tell you what 69 is. 69 days, right? The idea here is there'll be 69 days of experimentation where when you launch the token through, let's say, Genesis, after 69 days, the pool will auto-rug. Like the liquidity pool will be rugged. Whatever is the liquidity will be given back to all the token holders. And whatever trading taxes that has been accumulated will also be given back to token holders after 69 days. Now, at the 69 days or even before, the developer or the founder, the founding team, could say that we choose to commit. And upon pressing that commit button, it's only then they will get their team tokens. And only then they get access to the trading fee bucket, which could be quite substantial in our ecosystem. So what this creates is basically you allow developers to come in with a more friendly experimentation window. In these 69 days, you can test your product, right? Leave your job, come here, build full time, test your product, test your ability to build a token community, test it with a bunch of active AI enthusiasts who would test your product, shoot your product. And you see after 69 days do you want to double down and say like, let me do it. Let me commit to building this project, right? And accrue value to people who believe in me, my product, and the token. So that's a new feature that we are launching. And this is actually meant to solve a problem that we face, is to allow our BD ecosystem team to get a larger funnel of giga devs into the ecosystem. I'm curious what
yeah, I mean, I remember you mentioned this to us. I guess the question is, what you're trying to do is create this friendly environment, cohesive environment where people can invest and take a bet on a founder to be able to try and get product market fit or trying to build something out, and then subject to them actually committing to it and believing in it, then they will get their reward. But it first needs to be proven, and then they can always. Is it the project founders themselves the only ones who decide whether to go ahead? They're the ones that can hit the commit only, right?
So there's also what we allow is like the token community get to vote. They get to say like request the founder to commit, with like one virtual. So you can get like a petition of people saying that I believe in your project. So you can see, right? Like if 10,000 people are saying that they believe in your project, that it's a good signal for you to say like, let me push.
So okay, I get it. So they can vote as well. And then prior to this, in the 69-day period, there would be a liquidity pool and all this and trading fees. Would there be the native token would not have been launched, or would it have been launched at that stage?
It would have been launched. So it's actually a live token. It's a live token there's a chance to expire.
Okay, but the problem is then the only question I would have with that, the risk is that how degens are in the crypto space, right? Like they may not even do their research. They'll basically just see a token trending and they'll buy it, not knowing that it's got this terminal date.
Yeah,
and they'll just
fair. I mean, two parts, right? On our UI, we'll put it in like big bold red.
Dude, you can put as many disclaimers as you want. Like crypto natives, or not crypto. Some of these degens, literally, they'll just like. Anyways, I mean, obviously, you can't. There's always going to be people who do stupid stuff, and it's a great idea in the sense that you give them this opportunity to actually prove themselves and build something out, and because it is that important.
Our hope is that actually the pass rate of this it's 80%, 70%. Right? Like I think that's what we want. We just want the founders to basically feel like once they step their feet in the water, this is a exciting place to build. And the key reason why is mainly because with an immediate community from day one, you get to test your product. And I think it's something that when Vicky and I, my co-founder and I, when we were building in Web2, right, it was something we struggled with. Like to get the first 1,000 people to test with and to like your product, it's tough, right? And the beauty about crypto is because once they have a token, they kind of invested to like, hey, let me check you out, right? That's the thing. So
yeah, very interesting, man. I kind of like an incubator, Y Combinator for Techstars kind of thing for AI agents. Okay, cool, man. Well, thanks a lot, man, Jansen. This has been a very interesting conversation. Is there anywhere else our viewers can go to follow the progress of the project and the launch pads and all of that, and any other apart from your Twitter and your website?
No, I think everything is really done on our Twitter page, virtuous_io, virtuous_s_io. All the updates are going there. And honestly, I think Twitter is kind of flooded with a lot of updates, anyways, by like natural community efforts across the timeline. So
yeah, we'll link to all of that down below. And yeah, once again, thanks a lot, Jansen. I think the next step I need to do is we need to go and think about how we're going to launch the Quem Bureau agent. Maybe in that 69-day trial period.
Like imagine you have a podcaster, like an autonomous podcaster that can just interview founders. You can just sip your pina colada while this guy generating views for you.
That would be the dream, man. Yeah, one day, hopefully. Cool. Great. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Cheers, guys.
Pleasure to be on, too. Cheers.